Hey folks, today we're going to do some more work on the Scottish Gaelic Tattoo Handbook app. Specifically, let me show you the page we've been working on. So this is the home page. Last time, last time we did more of this top part, and then we also have this blog post section at the bottom, and then it has this button that says check out gaelic.co for more blog posts at the bottom. So I'm having real trouble not clicking on that when I scroll down. Um, that's okay. What we need to do is we basically need to show three, so it has to say blog posts, and then we need to show three blog posts, and then we need to have that button. So we're going to do some of that today, and I'm also going to show you, ultimately, I'm not sure if this is going to be this stream or next stream, we're going to get those WordPress blog posts. So here we are. And currently what we have, let me show you what we've got so far. And I apologize in advance, my computer's running a little slow because it's a lot to have the IDE and the simulator and the live streaming like software running on the machine all at once. But we're gonna try. It also gets really hot, and then I have to put stuff between my legs and the computer. I might need to get a fan deck or something to put underneath. Okay, so this is our app so far, and we have these pink, yellow, and green views that we added last time while we were trying to get scroll view working on here. And essentially now these need to be the blog post views. So let's take a look in here. First of all, it needs to say, this title needs to say blog posts, and it's very similar to the browse title that we have right there. So what I am going to do is I'm going to take the browse label view, I'm going to copy it with Command C, paste it with Command V, and see how now I have two? I'm going to move it, not like that. I want to, wait, let me try this again. I'm going to take my phrases and clans thing, and I'm going to move it up in the hierarchy above the second browse label view. If it'll let me. There we go. And so now you see we have browse right there. And I'm going to change this label, and it's going to say blog posts. And I'm going to change the way that it is marked as well to blog posts label. So now this needs to say blog posts. And then it's going to show these blog posts right here. So let's take a look. We have our like pink view. We might want to make the height of that different. Let's take a look here. Okay, so what it's got in it is an image view. And it's got a title. And that's it. And then there are these, oh my goodness. And then there are these dividers. So let's go ahead and mimic that in our pink view. So first of all, the height I think needs to change. Let's make it, let's look at the height relative. So these are a height and then these are a height. So I think these are a little bit taller than these. Remember, as we're doing this first pass, I'm not that concerned with being point perfect. I'm concerned with the views looking right relative to one another on screen. And this one is 160 points high, so I think this probably needs to be 180 points high. So let me come in here and change my height from 200 to 180. Okay. The others don't have to be exactly like this one at this point. I just want to get it like kind of right. So then we have the system pink color. Let's change that to white. So now our background is going to be white. Actually, you know what? It's not going to be. I'm going to make this the system background. Reason being that way, if somebody puts their phone in dark mode, this background will go black, whereas if we explicitly set the background to white, that's not going to happen. Okay, so we have this view, And now we need an image view. So I'm going to go to my object library. I'm going to get an image view. Image view. I'm going to stick it on here. I'm going to give it an explicit height and width, I think. And the thing that I am most concerned about is the height. I want it to be like most of the height of the thing. So we're going to make this thing, it's not as big as these. So let's do 140. Height. Or maybe 130. We'll do a width to 130 as well. And then we're going to update our view. Let's also make it centered vertically in the container. So it's going to have even spacing on either side of the edge of this thing. So now what I'd like Xcode to do is update the constraints, which I would do with this button, which is grayed out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to manually move it a little for now so that we can keep going. Oh my gosh. Now let's add a label. Ultimately, theoretically, that's going to become available. I'm going to center this also vertically in the container. I'm going to extend its width. I'm going to have it be 20 points, I think, from either of these things. Either the right side or the image. So let's go horizontal spacing, and we'll update exactly what that is. And then we'll do trailing space to container also. Now I want to go look at my constraints and see them. So my trailing space to the container, I'm going to have be 20, not 21. And leading space to the image view is going to be 20, that's right. So why is the image view over here? It's supposed to be over here. And I'm going to click here, and I'm going to set the leading space to the container on that. And we're going to make that 20 and not 27. I just want everything to be nice. The other thing that I'm going to do to this label, how do I click? Is I'm going to go to my attributes inspector, which is this little triangular little tab thing up here. And I'm going to say, first of all, I want the font to be bigger. I want the font to be similar to the font size of blog post, maybe a little smaller. So let's go take a look at what blog post is. That's 20. So let's make the font size here 18. So let me click on this label, system 18. Let's do that. Does it have a color? It looks to be gray. Basically the same gray as this. Dark gray color is what that's called. So we're going to do that. Dark gray color. Yeah, and then the other thing that we're going to do is set the number of lines from 1 to 0. Now this is like not an intuitive thing about iOS, so I want to mention it. When lines is 1, that means it's going to allow the label to take up 1 line, and if the text assigned to the label takes up more than 1 line at the current size and width, it's going to use an ellipsis to trail that off. I don't want that to happen. I want the text to wrap, and I want the label to become taller and display more lines. So you can explicitly say how many lines it'll do that for before it ellipses off using explicit numbers like this. But if you set lines to 0, it will do it until all of the label text appears. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, so we have our image and we have our label. For now, just to like see what it looks like, I'm going to set the image to this basic lion head, and I'm going to set the label text to example title. Let's see how that looks. Okay, that looks pretty good. I think we still need to add the border on the bottom, right there. So let's do that. Let's see if there's an easy way. Add bottom border to US. Let's see what it says. We might just need to add a view that's like some amount high. See, what I don't want to do is have to mess with this programmatically. It's a border. It's not fancy programmatic stuff. Let's do this. So we have our view here, and I'm actually going to name that blog post view. Thumbnail. I'm trying to figure out. Blog post preview. Let's name it like that. And then I'm going to make this view watch this, I'm going to cheat so much. I'm going to give it a height of 2. I'm going to have it be I'm going to set its leading space and its trailing space. Oh my gosh, this is cheating. Wrong. This one. Height 2. Let me grab it and take a look at its constraints in here. We're going to set its leading space to the super view to 20. And we're going to set its trailing space to the super view also to 20. And the way we're going to do that is the same way, trailing space. Now it should appear, it's going to think that it's 0. I'm going to make it 20. And then I'm going to make its color dark gray. Maybe it's light gray. I think it's light gray. Let's see how it looks. Yeah, I don't want to programmatically set borders and stuff unless I have to. Pretty good. I think it needs to be thinner, and I think it needs to be further from the edges. Maybe it doesn't need to be further from the edges. Maybe it just needs to be thinner. Maybe lighter in color. Let's start with thinner. Try that. It might also need to be lighter in color. Yeah, it's got to be lighter. Okay. I'm just surprised that it's that dark. Let's do something super light. Let's try silver. Why won't you let me reset it? What happens if I do that? There we go. All right, let's try it now. That looks closer to me. Maybe the whole view needs to be more inset. Maybe that's why I don't like it. Yeah, look at that. It's a little more inset than the title. Which this is the same inset as the title. I think we need to make that 30. I think we need to make, oh God. We need to make the constraints on this to the edge also 30. And then we're going to do those exact same things for this view right here. We're going to make the leading 30, and we're going to make the trailing 30. I think this is my problem with the way it looked. That's better. I like that better. I also think this view needs to be shorter. So what I'm going to do, and the reason for that is that it's already this background color of white, and so the space around it isn't counted as part of its height. And because the height is 180 and then it's got 20 on either side, it turns into looking like it's 220 points high, which it's supposed to not be. It's supposed to be taller than these 160 point high things, but not by that much. And so I'm going to change the height on this from 180 to 160. That looks better. I might even bring it down to 140 and see how that looks. That might be too narrow. We might have to make it taller again. Actually, I like that. Let's make our example title a little shorter. So instead of mwahaha, we'll make it mwahaha and see how that looks. It's good to know that it'll wrap though. You see that wrapping happening? That doesn't happen if your lines are set to 1. That's why we set the labels lines to 0. Ah, I kind of like it. It's cute. Okay, now we're going to do this 2 more times. Now you might be asking, why are we doing this with 3 bespoke views in a stack view? Why aren't we using a table view for this? So the reason is that there are a couple of different ways that we could arrange a scrolling like view like this. One of them is that we could have made this whole thing a table view with a bunch of different custom cells, and then like this would be a section, and then this would scroll up very carefully. This would be a section, and then this would be a section. That's not the way we did it. We arranged everything with views not in a table view initially, and then we spent a whole bunch of time putting them into a stack view. So in the way that iOS is implemented, it can be a little tough to have one consistent scrolling experience with a table view inside of other stuff where the whole thing scrolls together. Generally, the table view has its own scroll function, which is independent of stuff around it. And if we want the whole thing scrolling together, your 2 options really kind of are make the whole thing a table view or make the whole thing not a table view. There are kind of ways around that, but they're a little kludgy, and so we want to pick one or the other in this case. So the second thing is that table views really excel when we don't know exactly how many items are going to be in the list. But in this case, we know we always want to show the most recent 3 blog posts, and we know that the blog that we're pulling these blog posts from already has at least 3 posts on it. So we are never going to be in a situation where we need to display a number other than 3. There will never be fewer than 3 blog posts to collect. We never want to show more than 3. And so the advantage of having a table view here is largely like curtailed because we don't actually have any uncertainty about the number of cells that we want to display. And so we're going to use 3 stack views, which we individually link to our view controller. We're going to set the information on them based on what we get back from the blog API, which we'll talk more about later. So the way that we're going to do that is we've got this blog post preview, and then this border view, which I'm actually going to rename border view. And then I want to see, is it easy to just like, the first thing I'm going to do actually is I am going to commit this where we are. Let me make a new window for my terminal. There we go. I'm going to get rid of this. Make this bigger so you can see. Okay. Where am I? I want to go to Scottish Gaelic Tattoo Handbook, Git status. We just changed the storyboard, very accurate. I think I'm still just on name because it's me. I want to rename that branch, Git branch. I want it to be called main branch. Okay, that was unrelated. Now we're going to do git add, git commit, change generic colored views to a blog post preview. Cool. And that way, if I break anything with what I'm about to do, I can just come back to this point very easily. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these 2 views and I want to embed them in a view of their own. And the reason that I want to do that is because I don't want to have to worry about placing them, although I have an idea for how to do this better actually. So we have our blog post label view, our blog post preview, and then our border view. I'm going to take these 2. I'm going to embed them in a stick view. That might work a little better. I'm going to make sure that that stack view has a spacing. This stack view needs a spacing of 0. Let's make sure that that looks good. That might move the border view on top of the... Yeah, so now I want this border view to have its leading space go to its own stack view. And that leading space is going to be, oh, we said 30. Border view. Yeah. And then I want the trailing to be the same, so trailing should appear. 30, cute, let's look. I don't, okay, better. It looks good. We might need to mess with the spacing, but in the meantime, no, I want to mess with the spacing now. So we're actually going to call this blog post preview. And then we're going to call this blog post content. Yeah. Cool, so now I'm going to get rid of my green view. And I'm going to make 2 more of these. Let's see how it looks. I think it looks nice. What do you think? Let's take a look at this again. I think it might be too inset relative to it's super. Like, I think it's insetting the, like, I think this is getting inset in a way that I don't mean for it to. Let's take a look at the constraints here. Let's set that to 20. And then let's set this trailing space to 20 and see what happens. See, now it's outside of the, you know what I bet it is? I bet this white space is just confusing me right here. I bet it was fine. I bet it was fine. Let's change it back. And this one too. Yeah, I'm just going to set it to 20. And you know what we're going to do? I'm going to use a different image just for that one. So I can see better. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to get rid of these. Goodbye. And I'm going to look at this. Leading space to the super view, I want that to be 30. And then trailing space to the super view, I want that to be 20. And then instead of the lion head, I'm going to use a different image. I'm going to use that. And we're going to use aspect fill. Just because I want to be able to see where it falls relative to the divider. Yeah, it's not falling flush with the divider. Do you see that? I don't like it. So let's do this. Let's get rid of that one. And then I want to say I want the leading space here to be 30. And I want these two things to have a leading space of 0. Good. And then same thing over here. So I want the trailing space to be 30. And let's make sure that that was properly done. It was. And then Yeah, that should be fine. There we go. All right, the last thing is I'm going to put some spacing on this stack view. Just a little bit. To get that border down. This is kind of cheating also, but not in a bad way. Nothing that even changed anything. I don't want this one. This is the one I don't want. Doesn't want me to delete it. Let's come back to that. Let's take a look at this stack view again. What happens if we set the spacing to something really high? I actually think that looks fine. Maybe we keep it like that. Alright, now let's make 2 more of these and see how it looks. I like it. Now, one question I have is, does the bottom one have a border? It does, okay. Now let's put that button on the bottom. So this time we're going to make a view. And let's just confirm what this is supposed to look like real quick. It's got the lion head. It's gray. And then it has this text view on top. Okay. Let me just a view. Okay. I want it to live inside. And let's set its constraints. Nope, not the bottom one. Just these 2. And then I want to give it a height. Let's say 100 to start. And I want to give it a background color of the dark gray, I think. And then I want to give it a rounded corner, so let's take a look at how we did that here. We did it with that. We can also come back to that. Let's see how it looks for now. So we scroll down. We're going to make this bottom thing, I think. We'll see. All right, so here's our view. That looks good. Now let's put a label in it. View. Label. And let's center it inside of the view. Let's also say that we want it to have 0 lines. Let's set the color to white. Let's set the font to 18. And let's set the text to check out Gaelic.co for more blog posts. And let's make it the, let's actually make it a little bigger, 19, 20. We'll also deal with its width here, because I have a feeling it's like too wide relative to the thing. It looks like it's supposed to be significantly bigger than those. So how big is the featured phrase? Let's look. This is not what I want. It's Heffler, and it's also 28 in size. So I think that might be what we want. Style regular. Font size 28. And then the text style, we said it was Heffler. Except then it took away our font size that we made. Cool. Finally, let's say this is supposed to be pretty inset, so I'm going to give it an inset of 30. Should show me. That should be 30. And then let's make it trailing, also 30. And finally, let's make this label centered. And let's get rid of this view's height. And instead of it having a height, let's say the top space needs to be a certain amount. Let's say 20. And let's do a bottom also of 20. See how it looks now. Not bad. It's pretty huge now. I think we should probably make the text 24. I don't think it's quite as big as the featured phrase. Doo-doo. Nice! Okay, now let's round our corners. So see how we have these nice rounded corners on this view? We want the same thing for our button at the bottom. So let's take a look at the collection view items attributes. I'm not seeing anything in here. Let's come to size inspector. I don't ever remember how to do this. I always have to look it up. So we're going to look it up. Round corners in storyboard. See how often I look this up. So it's in the identity inspector. Okay, hold on. Why is it in the identity inspector? That's silly. So we need to do layer.masks to bounds and layer.corner radius. Fine. Layer.masks to bounds. Yes. Layer.corner radius. Is it a number? Let's make it 5. I want to look at what it is though for the up here. I want to look at what it is up here. 8? Okay, we'll make it 8. Well, I want them to match. So 8. 8 it is. Clicking on these is so hard. All right. All right, we have our featured phrase. We have our carousel thing. It goes down. We have these 3 blog posts. And we have checkoutgaelic.co for more blog posts. Let's add our image view, and then we'll call it on this. So, image view. Let's add it there. Let's make it a bit smaller. And let's set it to be the same amount inset as the label. So let's say 20. And then how far from the... not at all, it looks like. Fine. 20, 0, 0. And then we'll make it square. So we'll say, and also the image view should be the lion. And should it be completely black? No, it should be pretty gray, right? So let's give it an opacity. Let's put the label under it here, which is going to make it appear on top like that. All right, let's look. Okay. I think it actually needs to be even bigger. Let's change that. Do I want to change that? Or do I want to just get an image that's a little larger? I think rather than say the image bounds are going to be outside the bounds of this view, I want to just get an image that runs all the way up to the edges. So we'll do that later, but in the meantime we have the basic gist, and then it'll be a matter of switching out the image later for what we have. Okay, cool. I think we'll call that stream here, and then we will work on getting these blog posts inserted in the next stream.